Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Ranks FC podcast.
Hello Ranks Squad and welcome to Ranks FC. It's your favourite intercontinental football podcast. My name is Jack Collins and I'll be your host today, and joining me across the water is the one and only Mr. Dean Jones. How you doing, mate?
I'm better than you, mate. I know that much. I've just been watching England beat Serbia 5-0. What have you been doing?
I've been watching the Republic of Ireland lose 2-1 in Yerevan to Armenia. It's been incredibly depressing, if I'm honest. So I'll leave you on the international front.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to gloat, mate. We're expected to beat Serbia 5-0, so it's totally fine. You've just made a wrong decision, mate. I've said to you many times, you could have chosen England, and you chose this way of life. So the Fulham Island decisions continue to haunt you.
Without being funny, you could have chosen Manchester United. Your father was a Manchester United fan and you chose Fulham. So, you can understand where these things are coming from.
The thing is, Fulham are actually better than Man United now, so it's kind of heading in my direction.
To be fair, in 1994, the Republic of Ireland, when I was born,
true, that's true,
were better than England. So
there wasn't a lot in it, that's for sure. Yeah, you actually beat us, yeah.
All right, we were at that World Cup. You weren't. So,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, I was one, so I had nothing to do with it. But
yeah, a lot changes, eh? That US World Cup, you were there and we were not. The US World Cup is hosted again next year, and good luck to you. Hope you do well.
It was incredibly, incredibly disappointing is how I would phrase this evening. Like, very, very difficult. After coming from 2-0 down to draw against Hungary, and I appreciate there's a red card in there, it was really hard to watch Ireland completely and utterly wreck it again. And you know what's difficult, Dean? We'll draw with Portugal. Like, we'll get a point off them. And it won't matter because we've lost away at Armenia and everyone else will spank Armenia. And that, I think, is the thing that really sums up being a Republic of Ireland fan.
Yeah, but, what's that flag you always hold up with your brother? You have a saying for this sort of stuff, don't you?
Only those who suffer really learn to love.
There you go. Like, there's a reason that you have that, because you have to go through these moments in your life. And here's another one for you.
Well, I would say this, I said this to my brother earlier on. I was like, it would have been really easy if both of us supported England. And he went, yeah, but we'd be suffering a different sort of pain. He's like, we'd expect us to win World Cups, and every time we got knocked out in the semi-finals, it would be the absolute bloodbath. And instead, what we do is we suffer before the World Cup. We don't get there. And then the same thing happens to England fans, and they suffer when they get there because they're like, we should win this.
It's true. It's not like you've ever seen us properly celebrate anything.
It's like expectations, right?
The only thing we can celebrate is the women's team, and you do that anyway because you probably support the England women's team more than I do because you know more about it.
I just support Chloe Kelly.
There you go.
So, you know what? And actually, that's pretty much the same thing these days. We are where we are. Anyway, this is a big episode, Dean. It's a big episode. It's 5x5.
It is. This is part of the framework of Ranks FC, people. We're back again with the 5x5. Used to be 3 of us, though, and there's only 2 of us left. But nevertheless, you did ask Sam, didn't you? But he wasn't around, so that's unfortunate.
I asked both Sam and Doogie. I thought we could get the Avengers together today, but unfortunately,
that's a shame.
No one was free. So just me and you, I'm afraid, my man.
That's fine. We can cover this. It's going to be a fun hour. We've got a lot to get through anyway.
We'll get their answers. We're going to put them in a big table. We're going to put it on the socials. But they're not going to be together with us explaining their answers, if we will. So we're going to just do it one by one today, you and me.
Okay.
Work it through. So,
and where should we start, do you think?
So what I think is we're going to do this in 3 parts. I think we'll have the most discussion around the Premier League. So we'll leave that to part 2. And then I think we're going to start today by discussing a couple of different bits, but I think we should start in La Liga.
That's fine. That's cool. That's a good place to start.
Do you want
And
to explain what 5x5 is for people who have
no,
not been here before?
well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's the top 5 from the top 5 leagues. Well, the top 5 leagues is perhaps debatable. Depends what you like to watch, I think. But Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and Ligue 1, the French league, which should have new status this season, given as they do have the European champions. And we each
Correct.
predict the top 5 teams from those 5 divisions and see how we get on throughout the course of the season, and then we usually reflect on it. So that's where we're at. I have to say, I feel like Liga should have projected itself more for this season. Could have made more of the fact that they have the European champions, because I don't feel like they've really made the most of the marketability that could be attached with that. But there you go. It's just my personal opinion. But La Liga is a good place to start because I think that this one is up for grabs.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with you. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in all of these top 5 leagues. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Dean Jones to start us off with La Liga.
Yeah, so 5th, to be honest, you could just make something up. So I've just put Valencia there because 5th is absolutely a lottery. So I'm just going to put Valencia there. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to who's going to finish 5th this season in La Liga. So I've just picked Valencia, even though that is not a popular choice. That is going to be the edge that might get me this game. The top 4 is 4th Athletic, 3rd Atletico Madrid, 2nd Barcelona, 1st Real Madrid.
I'm really, really glad you've done that. Not because you've gone absolute wild card on number 5. And honestly, if Valencia finished 5th, I will eat the closest hat that is to me at that time. Now, I think Valencia are going to be a really, really interesting team this year. I really do. I think they're going to be fun. I think that Corberan has them working in the right direction. And I think they might finish 7th. I'm really excited about this Valencia team. But if they finish 5th, I will gobble something up that is headwear.
Yeah. Look, they got a fine start to get off to. I mean, maybe they rattle Barcelona at the weekend and beat them in the
in
one of
what
the most talked about.
It is.
Yeah, it's one of the most talked about fixtures of the weekend, because it was supposed to be the first game at Barcelona's shiny new stadium. And it's not. It's at the 6,000-seater Johan Cruyff Stadium now. So that balances things out and gives Valencia a chance to claw some ground back at this early stage. So, yeah, as I say, that's a wild card because I don't think there is an obvious 5th team. I was going to go Villarreal just because of their good start to the season, but honestly, who knows if that continues or not.
Look, I think the Villarreal would have been a very sensible shout, if I'm honest.
It would.
That would have been a smart shout. I think that they've signed really well. Obviously, they've lost Alex Baena. I think they're going to be fun. And Marcelino has done a wonderful, wonderful job with Villarreal. But I think that maybe the Champions League pushes them out of contention just. But I think they'll finish 6th. I'm going to go Betis 5th. There is an element of personal bias that's involved.
Well, that's all it is. It's
No,
that and Anthony.
Is Anthony. Anthony of Triana has come home, right? This is the legend. This is the GOAT. He has returned to La Liga and he has returned in green and white. The thing that Betis have in a negative column is that they're not playing at home this year. Obviously, everything that's going on in Sevilla, they are playing at the Cartuja, which is, to be fair, where they won the Copa del Rey a couple of years ago. And they are now playing there for a year while the Villamarín gets redeveloped. So that means that they don't have the home advantages that they've had before. But I do think that they're going to be very, very interesting over the course of this year. I think that what we're seeing with Pellegrini is that he's going to bring together a very, very good squad. And I think that there's a lot of talent here that is willing and waiting to come out. And I think that Anthony coming back is the last piece of the puzzle. So I'm excited to see what Betis do. So I'm going to put them at 5th. My top 4 is the same as yours, but a different order. I'm going to say Athletic 4th. I'm going to say Atleti 3rd. I'm going to say Real Madrid 2nd. And I'm going to say Barcelona 1st. And my first question to you would be, how do Real Madrid overhaul Barcelona, a very, very dominant Barcelona, after last year?
Well, because no one ever wins this league back to back anymore. That's why. This league is up for grabs every single season, and it just doesn't. We haven't had a dominant force in the league, and so because it goes topsy turvy, I'm assuming it's Real Madrid's turn this year. They've already got a 2-point lead on Barcelona after 3 games this season. They're a 100% record so far, but Barcelona, yes, won it in 2025. Madrid won it in 2024. Barca won it in 2023. Madrid won it in 2022. Atleti won it in 2021. Madrid won it in 2020. And Barca won it in 2019. Like, we don't see teams going consecutive years. And so that genuinely is part of the reason. I was kind of saying that tongue in cheek because of your question. But I actually think that there is some truth to it. I also think balance that out with the fact that I believe that Barcelona will be very much more focused on taking that extra step in the Champions League this season and trying to take that. And this stadium confusion as well also adds another layer to it. Like, they thought they were going to be playing in their new stadium this coming weekend. It looks like that's probably not going to happen until January at this rate. So again, like, I'm not saying a massive complication because they've managed it so far without being there. But I think just like if they were going into the Spotify Camp Nou this weekend, I would have had more reason to believe that that they were going to win it. I might have even given them the edge right now on this show, but I'm like, no, I'm actually going to use that against them. That's going to be one of my reasons that goes against them. So the fact that teams struggle to dominate this league, the Champions League factor, the stadium factor, and the fact they don't look like flawless so far means that there is some doubt to it.
No, I think they look quite flawed thus far.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Obviously, they're a couple of points behind. But I do think that what's interesting is I agree with you. I don't think they'll be back at the Camp Nou until maybe January. But I think at that moment, they'll probably be about 3-4 points behind. And I think that's enough for them to be like, wow, we're on the charge. And I'm not convinced yet by Xabi Alonso's Real Madrid. So here's a hot take. I reckon that Real Madrid win both the Clásicos.
Yeah.
And I reckon they lose the league. Because
why?
I think that
why
this setup from Real Madrid, what we've seen so far, feels like they're willing to play on the high line. They're willing to play on the edge. We saw it with Mallorca in the game against Mallorca, where they were basically like, oh, 3 goals offside. There was obviously one that was the handball, which felt a little bit unfair, let's be honest. But you look at it and you think, okay, they're going to play on the edge. They're going to play in that exact spot where Barcelona are a little bit vulnerable, should we say? And you're looking at it and thinking, okay, are they going to be able to take advantage of that? And to be honest, even last year, we saw Real Madrid trying to take advantage of that high line. And if you look back at those games and think, wow, the amount of offside goals, it all felt a bit uncomfortable from a Barcelona perspective. I reckon that Real Madrid win both Clásicos and lose the league to Barcelona.
The problem is with that hot take is that one of the Clásicos is 4 games from the end of the season. And I think that if Barca lose to Real Madrid in that period of the season, then in some way or other that's going to swing momentum because there's not going to probably be that much between them at that point. So I would say that hinders your argument because of the timing. The first one's in like October, so whatever. But being like, second week of May, that is a pretty significant time potentially to lose a Clásico yet still win the league.
I reckon they're 6 points clear. They lose that Clásico.
You've made that up on the spot.
They win the league by 3 points.
With Madrid, I like the fact that they now have tactics. I think that's going to be helpful. I think that it's interesting that they definitely have not fully adapted to what Alonso wants to do yet they are 9 points out of 9. I think Dean Howson is going to be brilliant. I love what he brings to the build-up play and the way that changes the way that they move straight out of the back. Trent obviously is getting some criticism so far. I think we can ignore that for now while he finds his feet. I think that it'll prove to be fine. Mbappe's stepping it up this season. that is significant. And Bellingham and Camavinga aren't even in the fold yet, but they are coming back into the frame soon, which is going to be, again, extremely significant. Like, they've played these 3 games without 2 of the most important players, and I think that needs to be taken into account. So there's a lot here. There's not going to be much between these 2 teams. I mean, Lamine Yamal, the way that he's started this season is just absolutely outrageous. Like, there's one run in particular that's gone viral recently, and it's just like child's play. Like, the way he's twisting people up already is just ridiculous. So I'm not saying that this is going to be like cut and dried for Madrid to go and win the league, but I do think that as the factors that I've given up there means that Madrid claw back the Spanish title.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And also considering, as you said right at the start, the fact that no one wins this back-to-back is pretty impressive. So therefore...
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting they haven't had that dominance for so long.
Before the season started, I would have said, this is Atleti's time. I really would.
I think we did say that on another show, to be honest.
Having watched it, I'm looking back and being like, wow, okay, so it's just not sitting. And it's not sitting, and it's not in, like, no one's enjoying it, I think, is the key element.
The only thing is, though, they've only lost one of those 3 games. Like, I know people's like, oh, well, they haven't won a game yet, but it's like, well, at least they haven't lost. Like, they've drawn 2 of them at least.
I would argue that if you'd given Real Madrid or Barcelona 3 relegation contenders, in inverted commas, I take that, and that people can blow up and be unexpected in different ways, that's fine. But if you'd offered anyone else that start of the season, they would have absolutely gobbled it up. And the fact that Atleti are already that far behind, I feel like Atleti need to get out in front to be able to charge a lead and be able to defend it against the other 2. And the fact that they're already chasing the points worries me quite a lot from their perspective.
Yeah, fair enough. So, like, you sticking to what you're saying, or have I managed to convince you otherwise?
No, I'm going to go Barcelona, Real Madrid, Athletic, and then Real Betis in 5th. And look, I think that this Betis side is a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about what they can put together. Obviously, 2 draws to start the season. We'll see how we go. But it's been intriguing to see what the engineer can put together. And with Antonio Triana coming home, Iluminado, the enlightened one, it's going to be business this season for Betis, I think.
I hope so for his sake, mate. I hope he does get his career properly reignited.
I am very excited about having Antonio de Triana on my number 7 Betis shirt when we get to that moment. All right, let's go over to Germany and let's talk about the Bundesliga. What do you got?
Oh, this one was quite easy, actually. 5th will be Bayer Leverkusen. 4th will be RB Leipzig. 3rd will be Borussia Dortmund. 2nd will be Eintracht Frankfurt. And 1st will be Bayern Munich.
Okay. All right. I'm in the same kind of ballparks as you, but not completely correct. I think that Bayern will also win the title. And I reckon this is done and dusted already.
Yeah, I think they won it last week.
Look, as any of our patrons know, I used to do a thing called the bag. And the bag was when a league was won, I used to call it in the bag. And last year, sadly, the bag broke. And the people that broke the bag were Ajax. I thought they'd done it. I thought there was enough. And I called it in January. And then they ruined it. So the bag has now been retired because there is no point having a broken bag. And after 3 successful years, 7 leagues in the bag every single time, the bag was retired.
It was a good run. We've retired a few things. Melon of the Week's gone. The bag's gone.
What's going
to be next? Me or you?
Yeah, I reckon you're further to retirement than I am, but we do what we can. But like either way, if the bag was still alive this season, this is the first league I'll be calling in the bag. I don't think anyone is anywhere near Bayern in terms of quality, in terms of capability, in terms of all-round squad depth. I think that this one is done and dusted before we begin. And that makes me really sad. Like, because I love the fact that Leverkusen broke through. I love the fact that Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen were unbelievable. I love the fact that last year there was a title race. I think this year Bayern will win the title by like 15 points. And that for me is a shame because the Bundesliga is one of the most exciting leagues in the world. But I do think that when you're looking at it, there is going to be one of the best things in the world looking like in terms of who comes second, third, fourth, fifth. And maybe fifth is not good enough for the Champions League, but I think this could be the tightest race of any of them in terms of the leagues, in terms of who comes into those Champions League places. So I've gone Bayern first, Borussia Dortmund second, Eintracht Frankfurt third, Bayer Leverkusen fourth, and VfB Stuttgart fifth.
Okay. So with Bayern, like, look, they're just so dangerous and fluid. Like, obviously, Kane's started well, got a hat-trick in his first game, even when they were home and dry, manages to get 3 goals. But Michael Olise, for me, is lighting it up as well for Bayern right now. Like, he's looking so good. So I love all that. Luis Diaz seems to be settling in totally fine. Serge Gnabry seems to be enjoying himself. Like, they've just got so much going on in that attack that is looking good, that even when they have a switch off at the back, like Upamecano did, I think it was the second game, maybe it was the first game, that they can always recover from it. So, yeah, I completely trust that this Bayern machine gets the job done. Eintracht are fun. Eintracht Frankfurt are really fun, and I think they might be my adopted Bundesliga team for this season. Every year I get into someone different in this league. And I love learning actually about like who are going to be the stars that we're like that I'm going to personally get into, and it's always different in the Bundesliga. And just from watching the first couple of game weeks, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, Bahia, Uzun, like those two in the first game in particular, that they were on fire, and then Doan in the second game, like absolutely comes to life. Like these 3 are balling already. Like they are so much fun to watch. The thing is about Frankfurt too is that they're so quick on the break, but they're also really efficient with the decisions that they're making. And if they show this consistency, then you saw in the second game of the season when they won 3-1 against Hoffenheim. It was just such a good all-round performance. It was 3-1. Like, it was probably a flaw in it, really. They conceded a goal in the end because it would have been almost a perfect performance. But yeah, man, this team is really, really good. A 4-1 win over Werder, a 3-1 win over Hoffenheim. They've got a nice fixture coming up actually at the weekend against Leverkusen, which will be a nice balancing act to just see exactly where they are right now. Obviously, Leverkusen got a new manager, so that'll be a really good game coming up this weekend. But Eintracht Frankfurt, definitely my adopted team in the Bundesliga for this season, and I've got high hopes for them making second spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good shout. Like, I like El Yawahi up top. I think that's a fun thing for them to have done. And I think that when you're looking at who's going to put the ball in the back of the net with the amount of creativity behind them, then he feels like a really good bet. Considering that Eintracht keep buying strikers and flipping them for like 6-7 times their value when they bought them for, then you're looking at a good space here. I think Ritsu Doan is a really, really smart move in terms of bringing him in from Freiburg, where he was absolutely brilliant. And it does feel like there's a lot of quality in the front 4. My issue is when it drops off, like who comes on to make the difference. And I know they have Ansgar Nauf, who's in there and has kind of been there for a little while at this point now. And you're like, oh, who comes on up top when El Yawahi can't do it? Michy Batshuayi? Is he the man that's going to take them to the second in the table? I'm not sure, mate. I do think that when you look at the Borussia Dortmund squad, and I know they've lost a lot of players this summer, I think that's a more considered, well put together squad. And I know there is gaps, but when you look at what happened towards the end of last season and what they put together, I do think they're going to be more consistent over the course of a kind of 34 game season than the Eintracht Frankfurt are. And whilst I love the Chaibi, Larson pairing at the bottom of that midfield, it does feel to me that they are probably a little bit lighter in terms of depth and quality. And bearing in mind they have to play, European football as well. That's the reason that I've pushed Borussia Dortmund ahead of them into second. I think there's a little bit more depth in the.
But they're still showing signs that they're bottle jobs, mate. St. Pauli, the first game of the season, sums up everything that's Borussia Dortmund. Like they're pretty much home and hosed. They're 3-1 up with 15 minutes of the game left. Obviously, they're playing in a big atmosphere that day because it's a big occasion for St. Pauli. But
so you go to the Milan tour and try and make it stick,
mate. They completely cave in, collapse, and they concede. They get a red card and fall in the last 5 minutes. Like give it up. So I watched that and I was like, well, that's one of the reasons I'm not sticking them at second, because yet again I've got massive trust issues with them.
No, I mean, it's totally fair to have trust issues with Borussia Dortmund. Like,
Girassi, obviously, like if you're looking for a number 9 that's
they have the 9.
They have the 9, but then even he missed a penalty. So it's like, I love Girassi. I'm not going to knock him for that, but he's probably the reason I would be afraid of me getting this one wrong.
Here you go. Here's mine. Borussia Dortmund finished second and Girassi wins the Golden Boot.
You're actually not going to score more goals than Harry Kane.
Yeah, there you go. Girassi wins the Golden Boot.
Mate, that's a bad call. That's bad call.
Mate,
Harry Kane's absolutely ridiculous.
Bad calls every year. I'm going to do it again, but like I reckon that's possible at this moment. And also with the creativity that like sits behind him, I think this could be quite fun. Especially when they're playing with wing backs, they're gonna swing the ball into the box a lot. And look, also, what I think is fun is that Anselmino has come in here and be like, "Oh, I'm the guy." By the way, this could be a Christensen type loan at Mönchengladbach. I reckon next season we'll see Anselmino starting the Premier League for Chelsea. I think he's that good. I think he's going to show it this year. And
yeah, I don't know. Chelsea don't actually know it. One of the reasons why they're stuttering on like what to do for recruitment in that area is because they're waiting to see how this goes, to be honest. They're trying to test him at this level to see what he's actually got.
Well, I think the early signs are very, very good from that perspective. So we will see. But I think that Borussia Dortmund will do enough to come second is where I'm standing on all of this. And I'm excited. Also, Stuttgart coming fifth, I think is a pretty bold call for me. Not in terms of, I think that's low, because I think they look more put together than quite a lot of the sides. Like Leverkusen fourth at the moment from where I'm standing. You had them third, right?
Who? Leverkusen I had fifth.
Yeah, fifth. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
so,
I had Leipzig in fourth, yeah.
Leipzig in fourth is wild, if I'm honest, considering what we've seen from Leipzig so far.
I actually thought Leipzig bounced back pretty well. I know it's only Heidenheim, but like they obviously suffer a big 6-0 defeat. So against Bayern on the first day, they come back and they've got to get the result and the win. Baumgartner was superb.
He's always superb, beautiful.
And then their Sesko replacement, Romulo, is that how you pronounce his name? Scores like it's audacious back heel. So he's the new Sesko. They're going to be totally fine. I was just like, oh, that's actually quite a good sign that they've bounced back straight away. As I say, I know it's Heidenheim, but yeah, I'm going for Leipzig in fourth, yeah. And then Leverkusen in fifth is like, we don't really know. Obviously, like they wasted no time in getting rid of Erik ten Hag after they lost their first game,
which I respect.
And then the second game they collapse. Yeah, they collapse in the second game. So they've got rid of Erik ten Hag, and then they bring in Kasper Hjulmand, who's from what I can tell, far more personable.
Yeah,
a quick learner,
right?
Flexible, intelligent. Like he's got all these little assets to his management style that just seem to be better suited to what this Leverkusen squad want right now. They want to be helped, not judged. I think that's what they were getting before.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I think that also Kasper Hjulmand will do a very, very good job with this Leverkusen team. I think he will adapt to the system. It makes sense. And I think that's a very, very good appointment, which is why I put them fourth. So we will see how they go. Right, we're going to take a little break there. When we come back, we're going to be talking Premier League. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us here on Ranks FC. When we started this podcast, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Allbirds and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ranks. Go to shopify.com/ranks. That's shopify.com/ranks. Welcome back to Ranks FC, where it's time for us to get into the Premier League. And I'm going to hand over to Mr. Dean Jones to give us his 1 to 5.
Oh, well, this one's quite difficult for me, actually, because, I'll get to it in a minute. 5th, I'm going Man United because I said that at the start of the season. And actually, I still don't think it's a bad shout. I still don't think it's a bad shout that Man United actually end up in 5th. We've got to forget this moment in time that we've seen and the Grimsby misery and all that sort of stuff that's been like, oh my God, this team just have no growth about them. I actually don't believe that. I think that this team actually is growing, and I just think that it's just a little bit secretive right now. Anyway, Man United are 5th. Man City are 4th. And actually, they're quite lucky to be 4th, judging on what I've seen in the last couple of games. I'm really, really surprised that this team have recruited so badly from where they were 2 years ago. Like, this is one of the worst legacy rebuilds we've seen. And I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they seem to have messed this up. So I've given them the benefit of the doubt, to be honest, by putting them in 4th. Chelsea 3rd. I've got to go Liverpool 2nd, Arsenal 1st, because I said that Arsenal are going to win the league. Like, obviously, as we sit here right now, I don't believe that Arsenal will win the league, and I think that Liverpool are nailed on to win the league. But I said that Arsenal are going to win the league this season, so I've got to find reason to support that. And we're only 3 games into the Premier League season, but obviously that one of those weeks we've seen Liverpool beat Arsenal, so that's not that helpful for my case. But you know, maybe Isak unbalances the dressing room or something. Maybe there's some mayhem to come. Isak throws his toys out the pram again. But I found it interesting, actually. I was listening to another podcast, and it was an Arsenal podcast, and they were been behind the goal at Anfield. They were talking about Gyökeres. Most of the talk around Gyökeres is like, is he fitting in yet? Like, why is he not fluid? Why is he not scoring? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, he scored 2 at home, but we're waiting for him to become consistent. But the thing they were talking about was the fact that Gyökeres' pressing was so bad. And the conversation was all around he's it was like every time Alisson got the ball, Gyökeres was like sprinting at him, not closing space, just sprinting directly at him. And Alisson played it out, and Liverpool got out every single time. And so I watched it back after listening to this conversation. It wasn't something that was obvious as a neutral on first watch. And I was like, yeah, he did kind of do that, especially second half. Like, he did do quite a lot of that. And I don't know if it's like a desperation to do well and force an error more than an instruction from Arteta. And part of the debate was, surely this isn't an Arteta instruction. Surely this is Gyökeres not following instruction, actually, because this is not what Arsenal want. They do not want him tearing into the goalkeeper who can very quickly play past him.
Especially if he's not closing an angle.
And that was the thing. I was like, well, obviously Xhaka knows how to close an angle. Like, he's an elite footballer. Like, you learn that when you're 15. Like, he knows that. So I believe that things like that will change as the season goes on. But it was an interesting aspect to take from that game. And I think that Arsenal just haven't been fully in their flow yet, and those moments will come where they do go around giving people pastings. I do believe that is going to come. And I think that there has to be a belief that Liverpool will suffer a blip this season, because they haven't been that good either, right? And they didn't manage to fix the flaw in their team, which is that defensive vulnerability that we talked about umpteen times this season, whether it be on here or on the Patreon, about that gap. Now, look, they did look a bit more resolute in this game. Van Dijk actually did look like a monster again. So maybe there's that level of growth that's still coming too about them. But I'm having to stick by what I originally believed, because I can't backtrack on it this quickly. So I am going to have to say still that Arsenal win the league, Liverpool second, and I just hope that this somehow ages well.
Well, you say that, but unfortunately, I am going to backtrack on my immediate point on who won the league. And I thought that at the start of the season, Arsenal had the squad depth. And you know what? I still believe that. I still believe that Arsenal have the squad depth to make this stick. But actually, what I said at that moment was that if Liverpool got through this early period where they got a lot of new players in, where people were trying to work it out, where, you know, everyone's not that comfortable. And look, it hasn't been, right? We know that. We know that it hasn't been that comfortable. We know that there was that game against Bournemouth where Semenyo tore them through the middle. We know that was the game against Newcastle where it didn't stick. And then there was a game against Arsenal, and wow, the difference in central midfield with Alexis McAllister coming through there and being like, wow, we can cool this off. We can chill it out. We can make it all stick, was the difference from where I'm standing. And whilst obviously there is a level of this that you're looking at and saying, okay, if there's a major injury to these Liverpool backlines and how it all puts together, then yeah, of course, they're going to struggle in a different way. And if Virgil van Dijk goes down injured, then maybe Liverpool will have a different issue that they're going to have to deal with. But contrary to what I said a couple of weeks ago, I do believe that the fact that Liverpool have got through these first three games without playing well, really, in any of them, I think we can all agree Liverpool have not been at their best in their first 3-4 games of the season, including the Community Shield, which obviously they ended up losing to Crystal Palace. That the fact they've got through their first 3 games in the Premier League with maximum points, having played one of their major rivals, and I think they will only get better from here, suggests to me that this is a Liverpool side that's going to win the league. And I am going to backtrack on my earlier opinion. And I'm going to say that this Liverpool side hits top gear when it comes to sort of November, and they pull away without anyone rolling with it. From there on, I genuinely agree with you. I'm going to go Arsenal second, which is obviously a flip from your top 2. And then I'm going to go to Chelsea third, which I said originally. I thought that Chelsea were in a better place than Manchester City. I don't think that I am, backtracking on that one. I thought that Chelsea would be more consistent than City over the course of this next year. I'm going to go City fourth because I think that they have a better put together squad than pretty much everyone else outside of the top 4. And I think the top 4 will be clear, as I said before. I think the top 4 will be clear of everybody else by about 10 points. But I'm going to go Tottenham Hotspur in 5th. And this is a change of direction for me because originally I had Brighton there and I was really excited about this Brighton team. Yeah. I was really, really excited.
You were very high on them.
Yeah, I was really high. And I still think that Brighton will make European football this year. I think that as they put it all together, as they bring in the new boys, as it all comes together for Hertzler, without European football to deal with in this campaign, I think that Brighton will be there or thereabouts. But I think that if you're going to pick a team to go 5th, I think that Tottenham Hotspur are the one that I would go with because what we've seen from them so far, and I know that they lost to Bournemouth, but I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think that losing to Bournemouth is something that will happen maybe to a Liverpool at some point in the campaign, maybe to an Arsenal at some point in the campaign, maybe to a Manchester City at some point in the campaign, almost certainly to a Chelsea at some point in this campaign. We're going to put it all together, and that will not look like as bad a result as it does right now for Tottenham Hotspur when they come back to it in May.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm just unsure on Tottenham in terms of what we're going to get consistently. One thing I've said about Thomas Frank so far is that I'm impressed by the fact that for 75% of the games he's had so far, he's managed to come up with a game plan that works. Obviously, that became flawed in the Bournemouth game when they basically didn't have a shot on goal.
That's fine. Other people are going to be undone by Antonio Raiola over the course of the
year. It's just an early blip that makes you wonder. And so, look, them and Man United, I think are still pretty close, like in terms of where they're at right now. And I think Tottenham should have the momentum going into this season that means they do actually finish higher.
So, because like I would look at the Tottenham squad and say there's not many holes in the squad in terms of places I could pick from a squad perspective and say you're short there, you're short there, you're short there, in a way that I would with Manchester United.
Yeah, I think that could certainly be true. But United just didn't score enough goals last season, like by far, and then they've really tried to fix that. And if that does come together, then then there is a chance that it all takes off, and they've got made an attempt at least to sign a decent goalkeeper. Like I don't know yet whether Lamond is going to be the answer. Like it's a bit of a risk, like because he's unproven at this kind of level.
I hope he is, but that feels so risky.
It's a lot for him, and say he's thrown in goal against Man City at the weekend and cost them the game or something. Like that's huge, and that's the sort of almost pressure and especially in a game when he's probably up against Donnarumma, who Man United were offered earlier in the summer.
To be fair, given the international break, I'm not sure that's the worst place in the world.
Yeah, but so yeah, there's a lot riding on there. I think one thing that seems sure is that Chelsea are going to cement not just a place in this conversation, but they have the potential, Chelsea, to push themselves into that title conversation if this was to go well. Like they genuinely can. I think that from conversations I've had with people that are close to Chelsea, there are still reservations about the goalkeeper and whether they should have signed another centre half.
And so there should be.
I think they still might do that in January, at least one of those positions. I still think they want Mike Maignan. I still think they want it. And I think that the fact he's a free agent at the end of the season is something that they're interested in and a reason why they didn't go for Donnarumma, for example. But particularly the centre-back, I think they should be doing it. I mean, obviously, like Colwill's injury was expected to lead to them going into the market, and they didn't because they're kind of hoping that Badiashile and Fofana come back into the fold and, show strong enough competition to push out Tosin or Chalobah that they get into that side. But yeah, either way, Chelsea have got like such an array of options throughout this squad, and they do play really good football. And then obviously we've seen that even when it's not a great performance that gets them games, it's dodgy VAR calls, so they've got that on their side as well. Sorry, I couldn't let it go. I
knew there'd be at least one drop of it. It is very important.
You knew it, Chelsea fans. You knew it was coming. But yeah, I am pretty hot on Chelsea generally, and I think that they'll have a very strong season.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, look, I had them third pre-season. I have them third right now. I think they will be closer to the top two than they might be to City in fourth, which is good going and progress as far as Chelsea are concerned. I don't think they've got quite enough. And I do worry that from a wing perspective, they might have got slightly weaker. And I know that we've had, pushback on this, and we talked about this a bit on The Truth or whatever. Are Jamie Gittins and Alejandro Garnacho stronger than what they had last season on the left wing? Mm-hmm. Maybe not from where I'm standing, but equally, I think there's far more depth across the entirety of the squad. And I think that that's a good thing from a Chelsea perspective. And ultimately, they will probably finish third as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and as for Man City, look, it really is feeling a little bit like Haaland or bust. Like, I just think that so much responsibility is going to fall on his shoulders to be the goal outlet this season. And we're already seeing like his XG is high. He's scoring goals, but he could score even more so far. He's missed a couple that you wouldn't expect. Obviously, we've just seen before recording this podcast that he's bagged. What did he get in the end? 5 as Norway won like 11-1 against Moldova. So he's coming into the Manchester derby hot. But yeah, we'll see.
As far as I'm concerned, City still come fourth.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to have a really bad season not to come forth. But I have been, as I said at the start there on this section, very surprised at the way that they played in the first game against Wolves and then completely fell off in the next 2 games. And I just think that they have not replaced the team that was so strong and dominant have now pretty much gone. They're pretty much gone. I think in the last game, I can't remember exactly what I said. I think it was 4 title-winning players left in their last lineup. I think it was 4 left that had won the title. That's happened pretty rapidly. And the players that have replaced them, I think I said, like, they've got the Burnley goalkeeper in, they've got 2 Wolves players at fullback. Like, when you start to break it down like that, obviously it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek again, but are they at that level anymore? They're not. They're not at that same level that they were. And because the game's changed and we are getting chaos football now, and we're going to get more of it. You even hear Thomas Tuchel's talking about bringing long throws back into the national team. Like, we've already seen that, like, the teams are playing more progressively and faster.
That's important. I
I
watched Jake O'Brien try and do long throws for the entirety of the Ireland game today, and it was really, really difficult to watch, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm not saying it'll be great, but obviously Guardiola doesn't really want to go down that route, and teams will undo them. I think we'll see teams playing 2 up top this season with all these different things that we've talked about, and we'll see how Guardiola adapts to it. He's set the tone for how we've all played football for a long time now, and he's no longer in charge.
I think the 2 Peps will work it out. Pep Guardiola, Pep Linders, and I think that Erling Haaland will do enough to keep them very, very comfortably in Champions League football. I think there'll be a big gap, as I've said before, between 4th and 5th, and that will be the determining factor. But I think there will be a big, big gap also between 1st and 2nd and 3rd and 4th. So we'll see how we go. But Erling Haaland still winning the Golden Boot and City finishing 4th is probably my hottest take from the Premier League. Right, we're going to take a little break there. When we come back, we can talk about Liga and Serie A. Don't go anywhere. When we started this podcast, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Allbirds and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ranks. Go to shopify.com/ranks. That's shopify.com/ranks. Welcome back to Ranks AFC for our 3rd and final part. 2 leagues to go. We've got Liga and Serie A. Let's start in France, Dean, shall we?
Let's go for it. I'm going to go 5-1. I'm going to go Marseille 5th. Lens are going to be 4th. This one's so difficult. Monaco third, Lille second, PSG top. That's how I'm going. It's been hard to get my head around this one because there's a lot to take in. But yeah, that's where I'm going.
Nice. I'm going to go Lille fifth. I'm going to go Marseille fourth. I'm going to go Lyon third. I'm going to go Monaco second and PSG top. I don't think there's much to discuss with the top. Like, PSG are the best team in Europe as far as I'm concerned right now. And the fact that they play in a league where there is a lot of teams who are considerably weaker than them, I think makes it relatively easy to discuss that. We haven't diverged too much on the idea of who else is in the top five, apart from you've got Lens in there and I have Lyon, which is going to be interesting. I think that Lille being second in yours and fifth in mine is interesting because they are going to score a lot of goals this season. Absolutely. 100%. Mm-hmm. They are absolutely banging them in. I also think they're incredibly weak defensively, and that is going to be exposed by teams who are better than them. I think the Monaco are the most well-balanced side before that. And you know what? Before the season began, Dean, I would have had Marseille second and quite comfortably second as well. I would have had like a big old gap. But Marseille going to do Marseille things. And when Marseille have a massive fight amongst the whole squad after the first game, and we see Adrien Rabiot leaving to Milan, when we see Jonathan Rowe leaving to Bologna, that's going to be difficult. I'm going to have them fourth. I think that Roberto De Zerbi is going to struggle to bring this all back in line.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably put an asterisk by this one, just depending on behaviour of squad. If not, then I'll stick Lyon. If not, Lyon make it. Yeah, exactly. It was out of them and Lyon basically to come fifth, and I probably should have gone Lyon based on the fact they've started stronger. But we'll see what happens with that one. Lille, I do like the fact that they've scored so many goals early on. Like maybe it's just that I love the flair and the fun that they're playing with. Monaco, can be trusted to finish inside the top four for sure. And they've got the squad depth now, I think, that means that they've got an extra element of reliability, not to just come fourth, but to come third or above. They won't come first, so I had to flip a coin and decide if they come second or third, and I've just decided they come out in third.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this Monaco squad is really, really well put together. And, Adi Hütter is a really good manager. I think that in Lamine Camara, they have a player who is going to be sold for 60, 70 million next summer. I'm really, really hot on him. They have Biarritz and Balogun up front, who are two strikers who are going to score goals. Golovin, Akliouche stayed in the end, which I think is an important point of all of this. Minamino comes in there if you need him to. And two of the funnest fullbacks, I think, in entirety of European football. Kai Henrique on one side, obviously Teze on the other, which is going to be fun, or whichever way it works. They have the depth, I think, to come second in Ligue 1 this year. And I know they've really lost to Lille, but I think that they're going to be the most consistent side over all of it. Lyon probably would have been higher if they hadn't sold Mikal Datse on deadline day to Villarreal, who I thought was a really, really important part of how this all was going to put together. And the fact that he's gone probably is the reason that I've dropped them down to third, if I'm honest. Sure. I think Marseille are all over the place. Lille will score a lot of goals, and they'll concede a lot of goals, and we'll have a lot of fun watching Lille over the course of this season. But generally, that's where I've gone on Liga. Right, let's finish this whole thing off with Serie A, which I think might be the place we diverge the most, Dean. So let's get stuck into it. What are your 5-1?
Oh, this was tricky. I even spoke to one of my contacts in Italy to see what he thought of my 5, and he was reasonably on board with it. So I'm going to stick with what I told him. 5th, I've gone Roma. 4th, I've gone Milan. 3rd, I've gone Inter. 2nd, I've gone Juve. And 1, I've gone Napoli.
Okay, fair enough. So we are aligned on who we think is going to win the league.
Okay.
We are aligned.
I'm sure most people
are going back to back, which is not a common thing.
Again, it's a theme of this podcast, really. Yeah.
So Like, I think I've gone 4 teams going back to back. Actually, I've gone all 5 going back to back. I've gone PSG, Bayern Munich, Napoli, Barcelona, Liverpool going back to back. That's where I'm at.
That's absolutely not happening. That is no way that that's happening.
Yeah, well, you know what? We have some love. And look, some of those have changed in recent weeks. Like, I had Arsenal winning the league at the start of the season. I thought that this was their year. But I've decided that Liverpool were going to beat them. And you know what? I've not changed on Napoli. I think that this Napoli side are so much fun to behold. I think they got stronger over the summer, and I think they're attacking this from a position of strength where everyone else isn't. So I've got Napoli in first, Inter in second, Juventus in third, Roma in fourth, and Milan in fifth. And I think the interesting one there is Roma, right?
Roma could go higher than this, man. Roma could go for it.
I don't think they'll win it.
Not win it, but I wouldn't surprise. Like, if Roma end the season in second, be like, honestly,
you'd be like, shrug Gasparini.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah,
it's a bit like that.
I buy it. Look, I've watched Evan Ferguson tonight, and I could do with a bit more from him. Yeah. So the idea of Roma going and really pushing for a title would make me very, very happy. Let's be honest. But you look at them, and I think that whilst this could be a load of fun, there's a reason that Atalanta didn't challenge for the title last year when they probably should have. There's a reason they haven't got to that point at any given moment. And I'm going to suggest that Gasperini will take Roma to a point where they are challenging for Champions League spots as opposed to challenging for actually winning the title. So that's why I've got them in fourth. I think the Juve looks solid without being particularly exciting. And I love the idea of seeing, Jonathan David or Dusan Vlahovic, who's had an excellent start to the season with, a couple of really exciting players behind them, Chico Conceição, Kenan Yildiz. And I'm excited about Juventus and seeing what that front three can do together. But I feel like neither of these two teams, Roma or Juventus, are going to be anywhere near Inter or Napoli when it actually comes to the crunch.
Yeah. I just think my one concern with Napoli, I guess, might be the schedule. Conte is not great at shaking things up or
But I think Conte will bin off the Champions League.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. If he does that, then they win the league. But if he takes the Champions League seriously and has to he won't balance that very well. We know that Conte struggles with this. So that is my flaw in the potential for Napoli. But
I don't think anyone else is quite good enough to even challenge it. Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm stuck with. It's like, if Inter were on another season under Inzaghi, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. They'll go and win the league. But I feel like everyone else is going to fall off. We've seen Inter lose already. Obviously, Juve haven't lost, yet.
But they're not convincing. They've obviously had narrow wins, yeah.
I think Roma are going to be fun but flawed. I think Milan are very flawed. We're in a place here where I don't think that anyone looks like they're anywhere near the quality or caliber of Napoli, even if Conte does muck it up a bit by doing Europe and domestic stuff in the same kind of breath.
Yeah, I mean, look, Napoli's... The first game, they won 2-0. It was reasonably convincing. Second game, they beat Cagliari 1-0, and it takes a goal from Anguissa 5 minutes into added time. But they had been knocking on the door, knocking. Keeper pulls off a couple of saves.
It doesn't tell the story of the game, the fact they scored a 95th minute winner. That's not what happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they should have won this. This was a deserved win for Napoli. It was just huge relief when they actually managed to get the ball into the back of the net. De Bruyne is doing reasonably well. I think McTominay's doing great again. They've got a good shape to the midfield. Obviously, they've got the mighty Rasmus Højlund to come into the picture and give them a new threat.
Or with Denmark, as we've seen.
Mate, this could be this could be somewhere that he actually does really well. He knows what Serie A is all about. Højlund could actually be a really good fit for what they've got coming up here. So yeah, I've probably watched more of Napoli and Juventus than I have the others so far. And while I have enjoyed watching the Juve games, Napoli are just a better team. They've got the edge on them for sure.
The only question mark I had here with this top 5 was Milan. And I was like, I really want to believe in this team. And I think that the additions they've made over the course of the summer have been really, really interesting. I think that Samuele Ricci will be a huge part of this. I think that Atakare will be a really interesting part on the right flank. I'm excited to see what Milan can do. I am also a little bit wary of putting them here. And I think this is my biggest risk bet, if you will, having Milan in the top 5. And I know that without European football, they should get there. But I feel like, a Lazio or a Fiorentina might challenge this spot, or a Bologna even, let's just say, for the sake of it, because I'm not completely convinced by Milan, but I'm banking on Allegri working this out.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the Allegri factor, and then hoping that Leao puts in a vintage season. I don't know if we'll get it, but I think that's what they're going to need to happen. So let's see whether it does. I think this will be Leao's last season anyway at AC Milan. I think it could be a few players last season at AC Milan, to be honest with you, particularly if this goes badly. I think it could be a bit of a cull on the squad. But ultimately...
They've done that, no?
Hey?
That was last season.
They're doing it again. They'll do it again. I've always said Magnon's going to leave. Now I'm saying Leao. Like, there'll be others too. So I still think the inconsistencies of the league mean that Milan will have enough opportunities to make sure that they're in the conversation for something like this, which is a top 5 place. Like, it'd be a disaster if they're not in the top 5.
I do think it's going to be really interesting seeing what that battle looks like. And I actually think that could be one of the most interesting battles when we're talking about things to watch. When we're talking in April, when we're having this discussion in April on a podcast, I imagine that 5th place in Serie A might be one of the things we're actually having a very, very deep discussion on. So we shall
Big
see.
Narrative of the season, 5th place in Serie A.
Look, it's important to know that all of these things matter and every single place matters. And that's what we do at Ranks AFC. And on that note, we're going to call this a day. So
what a whirlwind that was.
It was.
All the way around Europe, 1 hour.
It was a bit of a blitz, but we've done our best. All that's left me to do is say thank you very much to Mr. Dean Jones.
Cheers, mate. And if you all want more of this European run around every week, then come over to the Patreon, because you get loads of it on the Mondays, Fridays, sometimes Thursdays. Come and join us.
Yeah, it comes down on Princess Patter. You very much enjoy.
Yeah, Princess Patter will cover it all for sure, even if the post box doesn't.
Our best. If you have these questions and you want to put them into our Patreon, we will answer all of them. So make sure you get over to there. The link is in the description as ever. I've been Jack Collins. This has been Ranks FC. Thank you so much for listening as ever, and we will see you all very, very shortly. Take it easy, Rank Squad. Peace. When we started this podcast, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Allbirds and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ranks. Go to shopify.com/ranks. That's shopify.com/ranks.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with AutoQuote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.